Okay, welcome all. Thank you for being here. It gives me so much joy, truly, to see you all and, new faces, familiar faces, those that are usually, you know, um, connected in the community, and those that are seeking exploration and more information about this beautiful modality. So the first thing I always ask my community and my groups when we start is to activate that social resonance and that spirit. So the first thing we do is probably we set our gallery view to see everyone here, and we dedicate a few minutes to go over everyone and to look at each other. That's probably the main step, the basic first step into each encounter. Just activate the ventral vagal system, align brains and hearts, and breathe. Just look at everyone and breathe. Um, Breathe through the heart. So we imagine our lungs are in our heart. And I see you all, and I welcome you from my heart with belonging, with gratitude for resonating, for just resonating with this call, with this offering, that the purpose behind this is to give back. I feel very fortunate in life, very abundant, and usually my idea is that one of these universal laws that we embrace in the systemic perspective is the exchange, the good exchange. So for me, giving it's part of getting. I feel like more abundant when I give, and in gratitude for you all. So this is going to be not because it's free, it's going to be, short or less effective. This is a workshop that we all going to co-create. The idea is today for many of you that were texting me or sending me emails or asking more about the approach, how family constellations can help me in my process, in my journey, go from the very basic. And I have some of the students that graduated from my program here, so they can pinpoint if I just missed something later. But let's talk about why family constellations among other approaches that I have the pleasure to work with. And my background is in psychotherapy. I am a psychologist. I have many different certifications. And when I find family constellations, it was a before and after for myself. It's so beautiful to have the ability to give back to your clients, and not only to your clients. Probably you don't work with clients. Probably you work, you're a housewife, or you're just a mother, or you're just a friend, or you're a member of a system. We are systems, and to embrace our perspective about the way we relate to the systems we belong. We belong to many systems. We are systems. We are the digestive system, the nervous system, many systems. Each atom, each cell in our body is itself a system. And we belong to many systems. So there's principles, and I love family constellations approach because it integrates many approaches. It's not that someone, Bert Hellinger one day said, okay, this is family constellation. No, he was an integrator. He was a theologist, philosopher, psychotherapist, priest. So little by little in his own journey, he started integrating many different therapeutical approaches and working with families. He also worked with internal family system, transactional analysis. He studied morphic fields with Rupert Sheldrake. And one day, working with families, he realized that there was an interconnectedness at that time in the 80s and the beginning of the 80s, 70s, when he was in his therapies with families, that there was an interconnectedness among all the members of a system, whether they know each other or they didn't know each other. That's some kind of what we know now, morphic resonance and epigenetics are at play. And systems, and probably these, we learn it in a school, the theory of systems. What is a system? System is different elements that together conform a whole, right? This is the main explanation. So we belong to our family system, we belong to many systems, and each system is ruled by principles. Principles. You know, the one piece without the whole. Imagine the solar system. Without one planet, the system collapses. So there's principles that rule the system that when we consider it as a whole, there's interconnectedness in between the elements. So one part affects the other one. There's continuous feedback. The system self-regulate as well. And the most important that I always insist is that the systems seeks homeostasis, seeks balance. Imagine when we're hungry, right? When we're hungry, we need to eat to come to balance. So we are in entropy, in disorder, and then we come to homeostasis. So all systems seeks that balance, that compensation, let's say. And systems are in constant interaction with other systems. There's no system that is totally isolated from other systems. So we belong to the solar system, the Earth is another system, there's many other systems. So basically the theory of systems, where then we as systems, we are biology, we are information, we are emotions, we are energy, right? Each of our cells, and now recently I was sharing something about Nassim Haramein, that it's evolving the physics, doing deep studies to the atoms and the molecules, and the cell has vibration, each of our cells, molecules and vibration. So there's a part in ourselves that is wave, that is not molecule. The biologists before, they call it the junk DNA. So what's really junk? Is the body produced junk? There was something more there. So this biologist, Pietro Garyaev from Russia, he studied that, he committed to study that junk part of the DNA. And what he discovered is that right there, in that part of our cells, is the information that connect us with other particles, with other systems, what we call nowadays the epigenetics, the way that the cells organize. So it involves biology, energy, ancestral, the past, the unconscious, the archetypes, Carl Jung, Freud, everything that Bert Hellinger worked with, he integrated into this modality. So I would say, and when people ask me, what is family constellation? I say, it's so difficult to explain, but I resume it's both. It's a modality, a therapeutical modality that allows to access the information that is in one system and these laws and principles that are related to the system that are in disorder. And I would say also that is a philosophy of living. It's not only this magical tool that is going to solve a conflict or a disease or a problem. It's a philosophy. And this is why I love, because it truly helped clients to get tools, to tap into the adult, to take their rightful place, their place of force. And when you give someone a philosophy, you don't keep them in the place of a victim or in that pity or this therapeutical process that go over talking and talking and talking and just feed your own perspective and your own victim consciousness. Family constellations, in the systemic perspective, you can amplify the picture to see and to acknowledge that everything that I do in the intimacy of myself, my thoughts, my emotions, my rejections, everything that is within me affects the whole. The whole.
All thought matters.
I don't know who's talking, but whoever it is, any question, you can at any time use your reaction button. You have it down there. And if you click on that reaction, I'm going to do it so you all see like that or with the hand or whatever. Um, I totally allowed you to ask questions, and probably some of you want to tell me those new faces that I'm seeing, and I welcome. Um, what I would like to know today, so I take something with me. Of course, my experiences and my workshops are never just me talking and you listening. We're going to stand up, do movements, do core constellations, each of you with a topic of interest for you. It's part of the experience that I want to gift. But the introduction is necessary because sometimes when someone is totally new, and I see it on my workshops here in Miami on Saturdays, they need that warm up. What is this? What is it that I am doing? So basically, how we access to that information. There's different modalities nowadays. Even through imagination, we can set up configuration if it's a one session. But the way Bert Hellinger did it was through a group settings. So there's a group, there's someone that is the seeker, it sits down next to the facilitator, it presents an issue for the life, whatever it is in the main areas of life, relational, abundance, health, anything, anything that is repetitive, difficult, painful, overwhelming. And the facilitator offers the perspective of the systemic, and through the use of representatives, human representatives in an in-person setting, sometimes we can use other elements, we observe the dynamics at play. So the representatives move in centeredness, not in acting, not in drama, as always through the energy that is within the cells. And we're going to do an exercise so you all know how that, what we call in constellations, the inner guide, some others call it the double quantum or the higher self, But certainly we have within us, within each of our cells, this ability to access that wisdom. So through the body, that's what we say is a somatic experience. And that's also something that I love about constellations because it separates from our drama or our perspective of the story that we continuously tell ourselves, and we open to something bigger, to something greater, that the field of all possibilities, the field will open for us. So there's the seeker, there's the representatives. The representatives are in total centeredness in service of that system. And again, that universal law of giving and taking, the representatives heal a lot of their own systems through that resonance that happened in the field. So representatives are set, they let themselves get guided and moved by the energy, what they feel. Maybe they feel expanded and big, sometimes they feel depleted and tired. So sensations will present, and this is not anything that we channel from outside, or that it's external. It's within the body, it's within. So whatever I tap into and I access, there's this interconnectedness in between my system and the system of that client. That was one of the main um, discoveries of Bert Hellinger. And we can access and explore the dynamics, the repetition. Usually you can place family members or even energies, mm, like money, like an emotion, or a company, or a project, different things, because everything vibrates. Everything is energy. Probably, I don't know if we're gonna have time to do like a group constellation. Maybe we can. Let's see. I go with the need of the group. But the idea, explain what is it, how to use my body in the field is important. If you want to explore family constellations and you have this information and then go to a workshop, you're not going to feel like, oh, okay, what is this? You know how to access, how to be in that center, how to let your body get moved like it's as a rag doll, like it's something moving you from within, not your willingness, not your intention, not any story that you have in mind, or any interpretation. That is basically the tool. The philosophy is huge. It's based on these principal laws. So Bert Hellinger said, love is what governs all systems, family systems, the world. We come from a place that is love and is unity. And we get separated and we experience a lot of pain from that separation. And we come to this experience to experience duality. We entered into the dual world. We experience separation, and that leaves a wound in ourselves, very deep. Also in the womb of our mother, also there's many disorders that happen because through the mitochondrial DNA, a lot of information is passed down. That is epigenetics. So let's say we all develop this script, this personality. When we come to repeat, to compensate, or to restore many things that happened in the past, unities of love that were not possible, that were overlooked, that were things that were separated, exclusion. We come from this generation, comes from a lot of trauma. Before our ancestors, parents, grandparents, they didn't have the possibility to overcome or to heal these traumas. So I would say this generation is compensating a lot for these past hurts. Um, so through this philosophy that Bert Hellinger developed, and even he learned from it, living with Zulu tribes in Africa and observing, he was a missionary in Africa, and he observed how they reconcile their conflicts, how they relate to each other. And he learned these laws, these no law, because then he called it the orders of love at some point in his career, the orders of love. So love is present in all systems, in all families, but there is also disorder, and love without order, it doesn't flow correctly. And there's two types of love: the blind love, that is the love that keeps us repeating the past into this archaic movement of repetition and compensation, and another love that take us to our own life, to our own destiny, to our own essence. So even love can be archaic and damaging, right? So there's two movements in life. Sometimes we are there in different areas, in the past, in the repetition, in the compensation, and sometimes we are more in the adult, depending on what is meant for us. It's what is meant in our destiny. So Berhelinger, observing the Zulu tribes, he lived with them for 16 years, and he saw what he learned basically, mainly from them, was respect the elders, respect what it was before. Um, and he said that that was the basic premise, taking the parents, taking my parents, taking my source of life. I came from these two people that gave me life. So hierarchy is respecting the natural order in nature. Whoever comes first has priority, and the ones that come later come to in service, in service to the evolution. Okay, be careful here. It's not about being in in that archaic love. In service to the evolution, to break patterns, to take my own life, to take my force, to break those repetitions, to restore the unity of love. Since I am working a lot with neuroscience and polyvagal theory and trauma, I would say that constellations allow us to somehow renegotiate the trauma responses that we have imprinted, that update us with our first defense. So when we see a constellation and we see that the field is not moved by me as a facilitator, it's not moved by the client, but these forces, these universal forces that we're going to discuss, hierarchy, giving and taking, belonging, are always acting. So that in the field, so that configuration that I obtain moves towards the resolution that is essential for the client and the issue that the client is bringing. Basically, right? Um, so it's both. It's a philosophy. I would love to give you, I 2 years of training or to order one life of disorder in 2 hours, but I would love that you start experiencing what is this, what is. I would love to take some of your questions. I know some of you already are, part of my community, my ex-students. You have already experience in family constellations. So for this to be beneficial and productive for the whole group, because I know there's some that is the very first time, what I would like to learn today, to take away with me, what is that I'm seeking to learn? And from there, because this approach is also phenomenology, I don't have anything prepared. I come in that my emptiness, in whatever the group is demanding. Um, And from there, we can do constellation exercises, which are core of constellations. Maybe I ask you, okay, stand up and select two spaces, one for yourself and one for the mother, if it's what the field needs to work with the mother, or maybe with both parents, or maybe with abundance. Each field that forms has something together in resonance that it's seeking reconciliation and seeking to be observed. So if any of you has something to ask, to share, or to even pinpoint, oh, Amelie, you missed saying this, and this is important, please. What I would like to take away with me today, what I would like to know. My inner guide tell me, wait, there's questions, but they're shy. There's no right or wrong questions. This is an offering that I'm doing for beginners. This is not for constellators, for experts. This is something that sometimes is needed even before you attend to a family constellations group to understand, what is this? The first time I went, 2004, I was like, what is this? And it was a lot of drama and a lot of acting. I was like, I don't understand. Then I said, let me see what is behind. And I explored the philosophy and said, this is pure love. This is so beautiful. I would say Bert Hellinger was the first philosopher that really went beyond the moral consciousness, the judgment, the parent state to tell you this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. Everything belongs. Actually, he was prosecuted a lot because at some point he said, he was from Germany, and he said, Hitler had his role in the evolution. Ah, um, that he was elevated. I think he was the legacy he left, and the love and peace that I call it the philosophy of love to everything. And it's very easy to understand. It's nothing complicated. The challenge is to live it in your own flesh. That is the challenge. When he was talking about orders of love, that hierarchy, before he talked about hierarchy and balance in his beginnings. Hierarchy and balance. He even said, those that committed suicide, I'm sorry, that committed murder or abandoned their children, they don't belong. And when he worked with groups, he took them out of the field, out of the room in his very beginning. So his work evolved a lot too. Bert Hellinger from the 80s is not the same Bert Hellinger in 2011. And he discovered that the clients didn't heal or didn't get better until those that damaged were brought back and their belonging was restored. So it's when he introduced the third order of love, belonging. Oh, imagine how I am going to include that horrible mother that I had, that narcissistic mother, and always the invitation of him is go beyond the behavioral and to place ourselves into a more existential and philosophical way of seeing our source of life. Thank you for the life you gave me, for example. So everyone belongs. So there's three orders of love. Back in the 90s, Then belonging, balance between giving and taking, reconcile opposites, gains and loss. And how I'm going to include that, horrible people, those that damage so much. And it's when the first force, it was a transition later in the evolution, because everybody was like, oh, but I already did that, and I already include my mother, and I already took my father, and I so that this was being taken as a dogma or as a religion or as a law, and it was never the intention of Bert Hellinger. So when we observe in the field with the new Family Constellations Institute in Madrid that I am endorsed with, the orders and the forces, we observe that the orders, these orders that Bert Hellinger called the orders of love, behave in the field like forces. They were pushing the client, do this, do that. I want you here. I want you to see her. They were forces. So it was a transition. And now Nassim Haramein talks about four forces: the electromagnetic force, the gravitational force, the weak force, and the strong force. We observe also in the research that we do that these four forces are aligned with the forces of love. So how come I'm going to take all this damage and all this grief and all this pain and all this trauma? So there was these orders that gave a structure. It was like the vessel of all the yes. Yes. And now we can say that that yes, as simple as a and as a short as it sounds, the yes is the most challenging for many of us. Yes. Yes to everything as it was, yes to everything as it is. And that yes bring us back to the homeostasis. When we are in the no, no to my childhood, no to my parents, no to this, we enter into that entropy, into that disorder, into that life rejection. So that yes is what it is what gives flow to the, so there's no order 1 2 3, is that they're all interacting, and these forces are guiding our evolution. Yes, Terry, I'm going to talk more about that. Thank you for asking. So the yes is the ascent. We call it ascent because it's some people say surrender, but surrender is from a position like, well, whatever, it's more childish position. Actually, in Spanish is asentir. The word is asentir, which is an adult consent of what my life was and what my life is. My childhood, my parents, um, my personality, myself, my traumas. Um, the yes is something that we practice. It's part of that philosophy. And understanding that behind every crisis, every trauma, every difficult situation, there's that opportunity for the new quantum leap. Without that crisis and without that yes, if we're not in the yes, we immediately place ourselves, or whether in the victim or in the perpetrator, because we're in the no. Let's practice this. And thank you, Terry, for bringing this, because this is a great question. Let's think about something that it's challenging in your life. You see that I don't use the word difficult because it shrinks the brain. Challenge, challenging. It's behind the challenge, there's an invitation. Something challenging. That person that is difficult to accept, that situation that it overwhelms me. And imagine that you have it in front of you. And you're going to say to it, no, no, and let your body move. Again, not the mind. How the body moves is very subtle. At the beginning, probably unnoticeable. Focus there. You might feel a subtle contraction of your cells with the no. You do feel it, Terry? It's very subtle. Some might feel it more than others. The no shrink and compress our cells because there's a protection when there's rejection. So life, oxygen, homeostasis is not possible in that rejection. Let's try, probably, and this is something that I always tell the people, if you can say yes to whatever is happening to you, you're ready to constellate. If not, maybe not yet. Yes. Although I don't understand, although you are difficult, although you're challenging in my life, although I resent you. Yes. Yes, I know that you're here for something greater, for my evolution and the evolution of my system. And say yes. And again, exploring your body, but that yes produce. Maybe you need to say, and you're muted, so it works magic when you do it out loud. Although I don't understand, I open to say yes. Whatever you feel. And feel the expansion or contraction in your body. This is a very concrete somatic experience. You felt the yes? What the body felt in the yes? Yeah. And in the yes, it's not that I am, if I had I had cases, difficult cases, very difficult mothers, narcissistic mothers. So the yes is not about, okay, now I have to call my mother every day and tell her that I love her and go have coffee with her. It's not about that. It's not about breaking your boundaries. On the other hand, because there's a yes that is also happened to yourself. The yes is also to in guard, right? It's about yes to what my life has been and to what it presents to me in the present moment. So this is just a very concrete and brief somatic experience, expansion, contraction, what happened in myself when I live in my flesh the systemic principle, I don't like to call it law, the principle of assent, of yes, yes. Um, Belonging. Well, we talk about a little bit, when there's exclusion, imagine a family tree or genogram, like a family tree. And there's the great grandparents, there's the grandparents, there's the parents, and it's you. Imagine that you have your family tree behind you right now. Imagine. Let's do another somatic exercise. You have your parents, you have your grandparents, you have your great grandparents. Feel them right there, that energy. And you might feel or think or perceive or guess, whatever comes to you easier, that some of them probably walk out of that tree. They were judged, they were resent, they damaged, they did something bad. And imagine now that a space that is empty. It's empty. It's excluded. We don't talk about Bruno. Did you watch Encanto? Disney Encanto? That is a constellation. We don't talk about Bruno, right? What happened? What happened with that empty space? So the principles of the system, they don't allow empty spaces. That space need to be fulfilled. Remember, energy, epigenetics, information travels through generation. So there's a descendant that will be destined to repeat that or compensate. There's repetition and compensation to repeat a difficult destiny until a new solution, a new belonging, and two polarities are merged. So we live our lives without even knowing, apparently acting normally and living normally, replacing excluded. Maybe some of you remember what your mother told you about men or about your father. What did you hear about men? Or what did you hear about women? What did you hear about women? Internally, we have this blind loyalty to our lineage when we carry their own rejections to their own life, rejection towards, and we learn to see life through their eyes without knowing that we're just repeating a pattern, that we just trapped by what Rupert Sheldrake called the morphic fields, these behaviors that are repeated and repeated by millions of people. If we go back to our first ancestors, well, before life was not about emotions or love, it was about rules and survival. And we have that in our archetype, in unconscious brain. And we tend to repeat or to compensate. So maybe some of you will ask me for an example. Emily, give me an example. Well, that woman, and I have many of them seeking fertility or to get pregnant. When we see the constellation, we saw a woman or a mother that is laying in the floor, um, in pain, abandoned, alone, right? Sometimes that presents in the field. It could be many different entanglements, but or women that lost their children. So the descendant, the client, unconsciously promise, I for you. I will not pass through that pain. Or probably I, as you, will die alone. Some other times, I will not have more love than you had, or more success, or more intimacy, or joy. And constellations allow us to observe those dynamics that are at play in our unconscious, in the movement of evolution of our system, and to break them and to take ownership of our own destiny. Um, I love to also incorporate the tool of the Enneagram in my practice. It's beautiful because right there, you know that we develop type of personalities that allow us to survive. And we identify with these characters that we build for that same loyalty. And I would say fidelity, not even loyalty, because loyalty is more like a rule, like you have to do this. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes the script is verbal. You can do this, you have to do this. Sometimes it's just non-verbal, it's unspoken. It's the energy of what we experience that invite us just to set that script. I will not be loved or chosen, right? That is a fidelity, an unconscious fidelity. I had this constellation in my Saturday group workshop. I was telling my class this week that a woman came to me and said, I don't feel like nobody chose me. Like I'm not chosen by any man. And when we set her in the field and her parents, the father could not see her, neither see her mother. The father was, and the gaze is very important in constellations. The father was there in the past. So when we invite someone to represent that place that is empty, we observe that it was a woman abandoned, left behind, left out. So the client could see, Father, I see how much you love her, and you had to be with my mother. And see that woman and say, I see your suffering. I see what you went through. And Dad, although you could not see my mom, I take life from you and I take your strength. And Mom, even though my dad didn't see you, now I choose to be seen, to be chosen. My God is telling me that someone here is having a constellation right now. It just told me that. So that is the process of a constellation. We call about integrate. What is integrate? See with a different eyes. So now I introduce a concept that it's a concept of quantum physics. The concept of, and I'm translating in my mind, collapse of a wave function, right? We observe something, we collapse, we transform the wave in molecule, right? So we perceive that my father was absent, my father never saw my mother, my father was, abandoned us, and he worked so much and he was never at home, and I am collapsing that wave function, that judgment, that resentment, that rejection. I'm perceiving my past, my childhood through those eyes. In constellation, we are allowed to see your father and say, oh my God, you suffered too. You were also a child with traumas, and you had to leave your land and left your love behind. And now only the love remains. And I take you. That allows another energy, another frequency to vibrate in the field. So what we do, and I'm going to talk about the energy, the quantum physics that is also part of constellations. How in the field there's energy that is moving, that empty spaces, they don't exist. So when I offer the frequency of rejection, of no, that is what it manifests as a giving and taking, as a compensation in my life. When I offer this perspective of, yes, it was like that. My childhood was difficult. My childhood was hard. And now I choose love. That is the sentence that it comes to me. I choose love. Thank you, Mother, for all you went through. It's not in vain. It was not in vain. It served me. It made me whatever, right? And then I am offering another frequency to the energy of the field. So what in constellations we do is we access a moment that I don't decide, the field decides where it takes us. It's spaceless, it's timeless. So the field decides, okay, it was that script was in your 4 years old. You installed that script, that blind loyalty. Take us there, whatever the field offer us, and we integrate. The process of integrate is seeing, honor, gratitude, see you, you belong. I honor both of your destinies, your decisions, your life. And offering that frequency, transform. Yeah, reality is about the frequency we vibrate in. So that's why I love to offer the perspective of quantum physics, because what it moves. So some people say systemic constellations, quantum constellations, and that is all marketing. All constellations are systemic because they're based in the systemic principles. All constellations are quantum constellations because they work with physics, with atoms, with molecules, with the body, with cells. And they're all family. So the name that Bert Hellinger gave it was Family Constellation. It was actually a mistake, an error in the translation from German to English. And when he heard constellation, he said, leave it. It was a word in German that was very similar to constellations in English. So the translator in one of the books put constellation. And he said, all right, that's the name, Family Constellations, because it's a constellation, it's a system, it's an order. So at some point in his life, in 2010, 2011, he said, okay, now I understood. This is Family Constellations, new family constellations. He named new family constellations because he evolved himself as a facilitator. Before he entered a lot the field, he moved participants, he took them out, he turned them, and he realized that somehow he was causing damage because those movements were not aligned with the essential or the destiny of these clients. So he noticed that when he retreated, the constellation itself got to the resolution that was essential, useful, and beneficial for the client. He called it himself New Family Constellation. Of course, things has evolved all the time as we speak, and there's many new things that have been observed in the field. But he mainly, the New Family Constellation, when he named it New Family Constellations, it was because the representatives move themselves. They have free movement. The resolution was given by the field until the representatives, they don't move anymore. And the facilitator just observe, assent, and guide the client towards the sentence that the field needs to hear something. Something. And when we say it, it moves completely towards that reconciliation. Right? So that is basically, I know explaining it's challenging because I go over there and over there. So if you want to bring something, offer something, or ask questions, it will be great. So you can even guide me towards what is good for the whole, good for this system that we are co-creating here. Anyone? And then we go to an exercise.
Can I ask a question?
Any question, of course.
Thank you. So when you were describing that last constellation and you said the father didn't see the daughter or the mother and he was looking in the distance, I would like a little more understanding about you sent a representative to be in that place. How did you know it's a woman that he was seeing?
Well,
What
it's
happens
part of
in that moment?
it's part of the magic of becoming a facilitator, of course. There's I would say the facilitator does not constellate itself, is the inner guide. The facilitator needs to pass through a process of purification and self-work to be empty, empty of projections, empty of interpretations, and in true and pure phenomenology. So in my trainings, I don't have protocols of 1, 2, 3. This is what you need to constellate. No, it's not a. But one of the first, just to answer your question, one of the first things that Bert Hellinger offered was the gaze of the representatives. The gaze of the representative actually was the first thing. When a representative gazing down is entangled with an ancestor that died, there's the concept of entanglement, and we know the 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 entanglement of particles. Those two particles communicate each other. That's quantum physics, no matter distance and time. So the concept of entanglement. So the gaze down. The gaze is the gate of the soul, the doorway of the soul. So usually representatives needs to come out to feel these empty spaces, all right? And it's not that I interpret. Now the people that come to my workshops on Saturday in Miami, they come every Saturday. So I don't even have to say someone there, someone there. Of course, I have to do it at the beginning when they're new or it's a group of new participants. But everyone that comes to a workshop, and thank you for bringing this, you see, you give me more insights to speak about. Everyone that is in the circle is part of the constellation. It's not, oh no, this is not my constellation. This is not for me. No, we are in morphic resonance, morphogenetic resonance, actually. And participants sitting down in their chairs will start feeling sensations. Where every sensation is, there's a work to be done. There's discomfort, there's expansion, there's emotions come in a very center way, or movements of the body. So when I am representing, I attend to my 3 centers. Where do I feel? What do I feel? Where do I feel it? And what my body wants to do. I always invite participants to focus in these centers, the visceral, the mental, and the emotional. What do I feel? I'm depleted. I'm in grief. Where do I feel it? I feel it here in my chest. It feels heavy. What do I want to do? Oh, maybe go down and let your body move. So when we place that person over there, it's someone that is mourning. And another aspect that is very important in the field is that how I relate to the others. How do I feel with the others? I'm not isolated in that system. So that man, when immediately, when that woman was placed there to meet her, to reunite, and together with your inner guide, you might feel the yes and the no. We constantly need to work with the yes and the no and be friend with that inner guide, because that guide is the one that constellate, not us. Not our ego, not the stories we have, not the story that the client brings at all. So we open to the emptiness, we open to the phenomenology, which is observe what is and what the field offers. The wrong interpretation can certainly take the constellation somewhere else. So the approach is very minimalistic. The client and the issue. And right there, some other participants that are in the group will move will take places. I have attended to trainings that there's 80 people in the Constellations Institute, and everybody there, of course, is constellators, experts, very experienced center, and they just stand up and they go to the past, they lay in the floor, they take positions, and you see that constellation, and the client is next to the facilitator, and the facilitator only say, look at it all. And you can say, now I see it all. Morphic fields, people trapped by belief, death, war. Every participant that comes, I said, constellate is to come to the workshop. It's not even being a seeker. Just to be there. You are in that resonance. But yeah, there's, of course, techniques that we practice. But I would say the most important, and my students that are here can say it, the most important is the inner process, the inner coherence to do this work. The feel, read that coherence and show us. If I haven't taken my parents' life, choose life, and I would say it's a continuous work of self-purification, because I cannot guide anyone to do it if I haven't. And also, it's not that I'm always going to be perfect, but to understand, to be in that yes, to be in neutrality towards the perpetrator. If a perpetrator appears in the field and I reject it and hate it, the system is not going to get better. And my system either, because there's interconnectedness. So there's both a process of self-discovery and that initiation, and then you start reading the field. You start reading the field. Yes. Pero can you give your perspective about the program? About the role, not the program, please. This is a workshop about your perspective going through both ones.
Yeah, yeah. It's again, I think that the heart of it is in the understanding that everything in life is a constellation. There is no, I don't believe that there is anything that isn't a constellation, and especially going through the program, everything, the lens, I can speak for myself, everything becomes a constellation. So even in my relationship with myself and the different parts of myself, I immediately see a constellation now, having been introduced and having been immersed in the material and in the philosophy.
And when we start living it, again, there's an energy or a frequency that we emanate. And that's why I said I have attended like 3 different trainings, and I'm in another one, and I have to comply with 150 hours a year to keep my endorsement, because you need to be working yourself. I annually have to do a training that is 1 week that is called constellation capacity. In that constellation capacity, you measure your own level of growth.
Yeah.
And
And
thank
I
you for
believe the opportunities for that are daily.
yeah.
The opportunities for that are daily.
Thank you for sharing this, Terry and Elizabeth. I knew it. I have signals with my inner guide. Of course, I have a close relationship with it. Even though sometimes your inner guide will let you make mistakes, so it's the only way you learn. They say, "Okay, do it." Um, but I get signals in my body when there's something. And thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Terry, for that candor. Yes, usually it's beautiful to share, and every time we share something, we all grow, and we all have the opportunity to shift a little bit, even five grades angle our perspective. We're collapsing another wave function over there. All right. Is anyone ready for an experience? Or questions before? Because right now I'm going to ask you to stand up and test a little bit or calibrate the body. So any questions before that? We're going to prepare the body a little bit.
I would love to say that further, the beauty of this philosophy is that to see life as a dynamics that always moves toward reconciliation, no matter what. And basically, what we are called to, from my perspective, is to allow that to be. And therefore, here there is this willingness to let go of the preconceived ideas and controlling of our conscious day-to-day life and reactions, and in letting that be, and that in itself is a constellation, to just allow that to just be, and then move into this place of, okay, so now as I'm moving with life and moving with its natural movement toward reconciliation, because it will always seek to reconcile itself. That's what keeps it alive.
And everyone in their own pace, of course.
Mm.
And there's, again, I always tell my clients, I wish that in 1 hour we can just restore the order of a life of disorder. We all have disorder. I haven't seen anyone, not even one person, not even one, without a self-work, is in the rightful place. It's a daily work of saying, okay, you are my mother, you are the big, and I am the small, and you give and I take. And that this is my role, this is my place, right? And I dare to see men through my own eyes, to continue the constellation that was before. So let's do that exercise. Let's do an exercise probably with our parents, because I would say that everything, the issue, the most complicated, challenging issue in your life, always take us back to that source. There's energies that are related to our mother, abundance, money, couple love, life itself, the way that I embrace life, that I expand in front of life, success. Bert Hellinger used to say, success has the face of the mother. And the father is more the reality, my identity, my push to life, my boundaries, the languages that I speak. So and the projects, the financial stability, the safety. So there's issues that we go through life, and usually these become metaphors of that first initiation, that first attachment. So let's do this exercise that is going to allow us to go back a little bit to that source. I'm going to ask you to, if you have papers handy somewhere, or just pieces of paper, or it could be objects or books, whatever, just to, it's not 100% necessary, but if it's your first time, probably. So you're going to place yourself, so 3 papers, 1 paper for yourself, right there behind you. I mean, you're going to see them first face to face, your father and your mother. Your father and your mother. It could be close, separated, where you want. there's not a specific place for any of them, just yourself facing them. Father usually is in the right of the mother, so you can place the paper there if you feel. So you need to be standing up, and you set your field. You have your mother and your mother and your father. Your father is in the right of your mother. You're facing them, right? So you imagine now we're gonna breathe through the heart. Are we going to open ourselves to that something greater? We're not going to identify ourselves right now with any images or any story. Just my mother and my father in that centeredness, my source of life. I am the success of these two people that merge each other. They merge their chromosomes, their atoms, their cells to do their job. Give me life. So you imagine that you're in front of them. And now you feel your body, your molecules, your atoms, your cells. Make an attempt to just not be related to any story that you have tell yourself, and focus in the energy of your body. And probably now you're going to notice where you're gazing at, where your gaze goes. Are you able to look at both of them? Do you only look at one of them? Your body goes towards only one. 100% inner movement of the body, not intention, no willingness. Maybe you might notice where your gaze is going right now. If it doesn't go towards them, I'm going to invite you to add another element, a piece of paper, another piece of paper, exactly that catches your gaze, where you're looking at. Maybe that it's something or someone or event or a person or an emotion that you are trapped into. Whatever it is, we give it belonging. We'll explore it later. Maybe you might notice that now you're gazing somewhere else, or you still gazing there. Let your body move. You have free movement towards the energy. The energy is what moves your body, not the intention. I'm going to invite you now to go and tap over. So you're going to step over the paper that represents your mother. You're not yourself anymore. You are going to access the energy of your mother. So you tap over the paper, you step over the paper that represents her. And you acknowledge what is in there. First, is your mother looking at you? Is it your mother looking at your father? Is it looking or gazing somewhere else? Is it bigger than you or smaller than you? Feel the expansion or contraction in your body. Maybe you're the same energetic size or equal. And here there's awareness. Probably I'm bigger than my mother. My mother see me as big. So acknowledge how your mother sees you and how it sees your father. Is there connection? Is there disconnection? Probably right there, there's awareness that you are not in your place as a child. I'm going to invite you to go over your father now, over your father. And explore. Just explore through the energy of your cells, your atoms, your molecules, what it's in there, where the gaze goes. If there's any sensation in your body, if there's sweat, heat, palpitations, itchiness, any pressure, just notice the sensation. And acknowledge the way your father sees you or doesn't. The way your father connect or not connect with your mother. If your father is gazing somewhere else, add a paper over there. That's part of your constellation right now. Exactly where it catches his gaze. Maybe your father is smaller than your mother. Your father is equal than your mother. Your father feels belonging in that system. Now, if you were, it was the case that you added another element or a paper or somewhere, tap over there. Tap over there. Maybe that is something that you are leaving for them. It could be anything, an emotion, an excluded. Just feel the emotion that is there. If it is depleting, if it's renewing, if it's love, if it's anger, if it's fear. Just what is in there, and you feel it through your body. It could be the parent of one of your parents. So we don't seek interpretation or stories. We trust that whatever I'm feeling there is what I need to see to come back to my place. So I'm going to invite you now to go back to your place, to your place of force. And you're going to look first at those papers that you added. And you might say in your childhood language, your mother tongue language, I am replacing you, but I am only their child. I am replacing you, but I am only their child. And you're going to say, I am, your full name, maiden name, daughter or son, if there's a man watching the video, daughter of your father first, his name. I am daughter of, and you mention your father, and daughter of, and you mention your mother. And you can repeat it slow and with the heart open. You might feel after you say it once, slow with the heart open, that you can become smaller, the child, smaller than them. And you say, I am the daughter of both of you. Equally and at the same time. Some of you, not all of you, but I feel it now with my guide. Some of you might say, now I can see my father through my own eyes. It's not for all. It's for those that feel that only see their mother. Now I can see him with my own eyes and know through yours. And when we have the gaze, we have the intention. So if I only look at one, I am incomplete. They both need each other for me to be myself. It doesn't matter if they're separated, if they hate each other, if one died. It doesn't matter if you didn't even meet them. This is biology. This is restore your force. They need each other for you to be you. You are the child of both, of an unity. When we look at both, the intention is a movement, the spirit movement. So I'm going to invite you to look at them both at the same time and equally. Maybe you can acknowledge, yes, I have loved you differently. And you might decide, or not yet, to take them both equally, to relinquish, quit your preference, to quit your individual relationship with each of them, and to choose, even by breathing. If it was damage or something unpleasant for you, you say, although it was hard, I say yes to everything as it was, although I don't understand. And maybe you can decide, look at both. For some of you, that it's enough. For some others, it will be easier, the last decision, to bow at both, as the force that created you. And now you can say to them, I take my life fully. I live with you two, whatever happened in between you two. And when you say that from the heart and with assent, and you relinquish your judgment, one step at a time, you feel the movement of your body, and probably you can turn and leave them with their story and turn to your own life. That movement could be possible or not. Do not force it. For some, it will be easier than others, and that it's okay. And you feel them behind. Right now, there's no your mother or your father. They are your parents. Take the time you need. Breathe. Feel them behind you. Probably you feel like giving a few more steps forward or not. Or maybe complete that unity of love if you need it. A hug or something to complete that response that was not possible. And even feel in your body how they change, how they see you when you honor them, when you bow at them, when you become the child of your parents. It's the only way we can become adults for life. When you feel that your body completed the movement, that you feel strong in force or in that gratitude, you can come back to your chair. Take your time.